Hey guys, welcome back. We are going to be talking about episode 2, Becoming a Lady, on the Hillary documentary on Hulu. I am going to be your host, Evan A. Chapman, and I have Sanai Moore. How are you doing?
Hi. Hey everyone.
Good. Okay, so I am excited. We're going to be talking about Hillary and how she was running for her campaign. We're also going to be talking about all those cheating rumors and scandals that were going down in the Clinton campaign. And then we're also going to talk a little about this scandal, Whitewater. So we're going to get all the way into all of that. Before we do, though, what were your overall thoughts of this episode?
Woo! My girl Hillary had the world on her shoulders. I don't know how she did it, especially through the public eye. And, the public already wasn't feeling my girl. So she had to go through even more during this time. So I just commend her because I know some of us would have had a literal meltdown.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think Hillary definitely shows a lot of strength. I mean, I don't think anyone that could have possibly handled it as well as she did. I know she always got the rap of being very cold or too strong or not emotional enough or something. But I think when you're in the public eye and you have everyone watching you and you have all this pressure on you to be successful and to be smart, to change policy, other things to worry about. And so I think she overall showed
from the introduction, all the
right.
index, all the way to the end. Okay, she made me look at Bernie like, what's the burn? Maybe it's
right.
Burn.
She said that no one likes him, no one likes working with him, and he's never gotten elected to anything. That he's legit been a senator for however long, and
yeah, she said he doesn't do anything.
Right.
He's non-productive, and no one likes him. When she had me cackling to the skies when she said drives me nuts. I'm like, I had to rewind it actually because I was like, is she talking about Mr. Bernie, the burn? At first, I'm thinking everyone says stuff about Trump all the time. So I'm like, okay, maybe Trump, maybe I heard it wrong. But no, she said Mr. Burn.
I know. I was really surprised. I mean, I never heard anything super extremely negative about Bernie Sanders. So I thought that was I was like, oh, okay, wow. So she is not feeling him at all. But we do get into her running for the presidency. So again, we're going back and forth between present day or when she was running for her campaign, and then back and forth between when Bill was running for his campaign. So this one, so she's at a rally and they're kind of talking about how the fact that she doesn't dress presidential enough. What did you think about that criticism? Because she was wearing a purple suit at the time that this lady was talking. What did you think? I didn't think that she had anything wrong with the purple suit. I mean, for me, I was like, she looked nice every time she was slaying those pantsuits every time she came out.
Just have a Kit Kat and give Miss Hillary a break, okay? Right. She needs a break. Come on. If she wears a red suit, all of a sudden she's more Republican. She's not Democrat. Because, they even talked about, you got to wear blue. You got to wear these certain colors. You have to wear this because this color is too strong. This is too this. And they just want to find something to pick on her, They always say when people don't have anything to really say or go off of, they start picking at you. There's about her makeup choices, her this, her that. And she even mentions the guys, they just have to roll out of bed, take a shower, and maybe comb their hair or their toupee to the side and put their little Rogaine on, and then they're good.
Right.
They don't have to do everything.
For us, it's always a lot of pressures. There was also another girl who was bringing up fossil fuels and how she had supported it in the past. And, is she going to make a law to not do that? I guess I've never seen the campaign so closely, which is why I like the documentary. I did not realize that you're getting hammered with questions from the time that you walk into the building to the time that you leave. And it's a lot. I mean, you're not only up there to focus on your speech, but you're shaking hands with people, they're bombarding you with questions and policies and things they want you to change and fix, challenging you on your thoughts and beliefs. So it's a super intense and grueling process. I definitely for sure cannot run for president. What do you think?
Well, I tried to run for student council at one point in my life. I didn't win, but I can understand, how much pressure it is because people will take things from your past. Like they could easily have said something like, you drove cars a lot. Literally, they would come all the time for Hillary, no matter what. Like they'd say something like, well, you drove a car when you were 16, so you were like helping contaminate the world. Like they will come
Right.
up with anything to really like make Hillary go in like a really bad light. And I feel that, people need to have more of uh clear glasses when they're doing elections. And it also showed, how politically informed we have to be on our own when watching these elections as well too, knowing who we're voting for. Because if we really take time to research in certain aspects, we'll see, either her side of where she's coming from or even like, why she probably made the decisions that she did. I feel they don't hold the men up to the same standard in drilling them as hard as they did her.
Yeah, absolutely. We also get into these transcripts or paid speeches that she did while she was in college, talking to like people on Wall Street.
College.
Yeah. And she said that she did it for extra money, which makes sense. I mean, don't we always do something strange for a piece of change at some point in time?
Not
Um,
strange.
uh,
Not strange.
but I mean, there's things that you do that like maybe they don't. For this one, they just didn't align necessarily with her policies. People felt like they were too close to Wall Street. She was trying to, slide something under the rug. I think politicians in general get a really bad rep about being sneaky because a lot of them are like they'll promise you something but they don't really mean it or they can't actually get it accomplished because there are a lot of hoops that you have to jump through. So I think, and she also mentioned that she's a very private person, right? So she didn't want to release the transcript to those speeches. Um, I thought it was, I don't know. I feel like at some point in your campaign, you do need to be transparent, especially if people are questioning you and asking you and questioning your character. You may think that you're trustworthy, but that doesn't mean that other people, like when you're running for office, it's a constant game of proving yourself. What
Yeah.
did you think about her like not wanting to release those speeches that she gave on Wall Street?
Well, she kind of was like, playing tug of war with them. And I kind of like that part a bit because she gave them a run for their money. Like, okay, I'll release them, but I'll go ahead and I'll try to find them and do my digging, but you release your tax returns. Since we want to release stuff from years ago, release your tax
Yeah,
returns. I'll release my speeches. One eye for an eye. You release your speeches, I'll release mine. You do this and I'll do that. And I
right.
think, she even said like she kind of played the tit for tat because, they're really questioning her. And, you know, they're going so hard on her about things she did years ago. I mean, she did it to make money. I didn't find anything wrong with her making speeches. A lot of people, that's a job nowadays. People really get their speeches written, by a ghostwriter. So then they're able to sound politically correct, or there's just certain political lingo that if you're really involved with politics or more experienced, I should say, you'll know and what to say versus like someone, who's just starting out or just needs a little bit of guidance. And that's what she was doing, was just writing those speeches. I didn't find anything wrong with it per se. I thought, it was cool. Like, make your coin, honey, especially if it's something that you're good at.
Yeah, I totally agree. I didn't find that there was anything wrong with it. I do feel like there are always two sides to the story. So, in one instance, no, there's nothing wrong with making a little extra money. But two, I get that as American people, we want to know the truth and we want answers to our questions. And so, if we feel like someone's being sneaky and sneaky about things and not wanting, you know, go ahead, put up a fight. Like, I'm not going to release until you release, your tax returns, whatever. That's fine. but again, like, what exactly is it that you're hiding that you don't want people to know or read about, that you said in the speeches? And I think that was really what got people riled up, because they were like, we can't trust you. Like, but we can't really trust any of them. So I feel like they, again, a different standard for Hillary because she's a woman.
Yeah.
Because I think, I mean, even with Trump, it's like, release your tax returns. Did he ever do that? No.
Yeah.
So release your emails. It was always wanting her to give up all her info and, like, lay it all out there on the table, when it's like there are plenty and many of politicians and people out there that do things that are probably not of the books. And of anyone, I feel like Hillary followed the rules pretty well.
Exactly. And do you think things would have played out differently if she would have released her speech first and said, okay, I'll release it out, and she released it, and then it all turns out, clear and the clear of it? Do you think that would have helped her? Or do you think that would have kind of made things worse?
I don't feel like it would have changed anything, if to be honest with you. I think that people are gonna find something wrong with it no matter what. So if you would have released it, then it would have been like, oh, well, you said this. So then they would have been trying to hold her head to the fire about a comment or a policy or something that she had mentioned or said back in college when things were different, or ideas were different. You change and evolve so much as a person throughout your lifetime, that it's like, how can you hold someone to the fire on something that happened years ago? But people do it all the time. um so I don't think that it would have been over. I still think it would have been a different type of issue. So in a way, it's like, it's understandable why she didn't, because it's like, okay, well, if I do that, it's like I look weak by then, like, just giving you all my information, letting you, not playing tit for tat, not playing hardball, but you're still going to find anything to complain about no matter what. So does it matter if I release it or not?
Yeah, that's a good point too. I feel if she did release it, then it kind of would have shut a couple people up. They would have been like, well, now let's see this. And then they would have like kept wanting to push, pull teeth and get her to release even more documents and even more things. But it happened in college. Are you kidding me?
Right. And speaking of things that never let go, let's get into this 1992 presidential election with Bill
Yeah.
running for president. Um, so I thought it was very interesting. We have George W. Bush Sr., who is running for president. And they kind of told him, like, no, we don't want you to. Their camp called Bill Clinton and told them, we think that you would have a great chance at winning. So don't run this year. Wait another 4 years. And if you do, we are going to make your life miserable. I always hear about the crazy things that happen in politics, but I know. So now, you okay over there?
Man, how that just went to a whirlwind, that's
Right.
probably how they were feeling.
Right. That's how you were feeling, all over the place. Yeah, so I thought it was you always hear about the crookedness in politics, but the fact that, to actually hear a story that, like, yeah, no, some another camp threatened me to, like, not do this, right? So Bill was kind of nervous about it, but Hillary said, challenge accepted. Let's go. Let's do this. What did you think about her pushing him to run anyway?
That's what I love. I love, when you don't back down from a fight. And my girl Hillary, she's a real fighter. I really want to know, the next episode, I'm going to reveal her zodiac sign, because I'm really intrigued to know what zodiac sign she truly is.
Right.
But she's a fighter, and she's not going to go down without a fight, because you know when you give up like that because they want to, that's their purpose. Is like they want to divide you. They want to make your life a living hell. And I feel her challenging them, at least you could say, regardless, you didn't go down without a fight. And that was her biggest thing. It's like when you give up like that and you let them attack you, let them push your buttons, you let them do that, and you have nothing to say, that's going to make everything worse. And I love how she even said, you know let's bring it on. And either you're gonna vote for him or you're not. And I and I love the fact that she didn't just give up and say, "Oh no, like they said they're gonna make you know, our life a living hell. Like it's okay." I
Right.
love how she didn't just, wave her white flag on that
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that shows her character in more ways than one. It shows her strength, again, like I said, her resilience, the fact that she's not going to back down from a fight. She likes a good challenge. She wants what's best for the American people. She wants what's best for, her and her family. So I think it shows more about her than it does about Bill, or more it shows, definitely even more about George W. Bush Sr. and his camp and what politics are really about. I think it reveals a lot. Um, but let's get into this cheating
one.
scandal. Okay.
Woo!
Yes, this cheating
Have to sit up
scandal
on that
was
one.
something else. So we have Jennifer Flores, amongst others. Okay, she wasn't the only one that was accusing Bill of cheating or having a relationship with them. So their whole thing was, people were like, let's get in front of it. Let's say something. Let's make a statement. Hillary was 100% against it. She said that she's a very private person. So I get it. Like, you don't want to air your dirty laundry out there. You don't want people to judge you. She always gets enough criticism. It's like, we don't need extra. But they decided to do a 60-minute interview after the Super Bowl. So, of course, that's
All
prime
the
time
yeah,
audience. Who's not going to be tuned into that? You're
right.
hyped off either losing or winning your favorite team's Super Bowl. And now we have this whole um, crazy scandal interview that's about to take place. But I like it. Like you said, Hillary completely stood by her man the entire time. And maybe, what do you think about the idea that this maybe could have hurt her image, as it shows her as being maybe weak
hmm
in the public eye?
Um, I think, she's always having to explain herself. Always, always, always. And, it's hard if your husband, this is not a boyfriend. This isn't like, a little boo thing or, a friend that you like. This is her husband, her family. And her daughter is able to see, what's going on. And even to this day, nobody knows if it was true or not or what really went down. But I felt like she really just wanted to defend and protect her family. That's, in the nature of a woman, is to defend and protect your family. And I feel, her going on to do the interview was her one out of her comfort zone, because she's a private woman and trying to deal with this. She's probably arguing with Bill, trying to figure out what is really going on. And I feel like it's just a lot emotionally for her. And for her to go on to do the interview, she just wants to clear her family name. So then, they can kind of go back to their normal, like, daily lives with this and shut the rumors down.
Yeah, I think a big, cheating scandal in general, it's salacious. It makes people want to know more and ask more questions and probe. So I think that's probably why she did not want to do the interview to begin with. But I think, you know what? It shows again. She stood by her man. She said, listen, either I choose to be here, either you love it or you hate it. That is your prerogative. Um, so again, I think it also just shows like the times that we were in. Not saying that people don't stay with their husbands after a divorce or after cheating now, but then I feel like it's more of a united front. I think it's way more difficult to stay with someone who's betrayed your trust multiple times, allegedly, okay,
Allegedly.
allegedly, than it is to, just leave them and be done with it. So showing a lot of strength there. We also go into Jerry Brown. He's accusing Bill of giving Hillary money to her firm that she works at, the Rose firm, law firm. And so while she's getting confronted with these rumors, she answers a question from a journalist and basically saying that, she too bad, too bad, too sad. The fact that I don't choose to stay at home and bake cookies of like whatever it is that you think a woman should be doing because I'm out here on the front lines. Um, that comment kind of gotten taken out of context a little bit.
Yeah.
Right. So they didn't feel like they wanted to support Hillary after she's saying that, she doesn't value stay-at-home moms.
Yeah.
And then you have Pat Buchman over here. He split the dramatics, literally so dramatic. He was like, she's comparing family life to slavery and living on an Indian reservation. And I was like, wow, you were really drawing all types of conclusions off that, sir.
This was just, it went literally, Drake's song 0 to 100. That's how it went, 0 to 100. Her saying one thing went to her saying, like, at this point, everything is in flames. And slavery cannot be compared to anything. But, I just feel that, again, Hillary literally cannot do anything without anyone having something negative to say. And, it's crazy because there's even, some women at the time who were agreeing with those men and agreeing like that's what she was saying. And you would think, and I found that interesting because it's like you would think as a woman, because you go through the same things and you understand those problems, that you would sympathize with her and you would know like, okay, yeah, this is how I feel, and trying to advocate for her and be her ally. But a lot of people were just like on the hate Hillary train.
Right. And I think too, again, like the time in which all of this happened, women very much so it's the social norm to be a stay-at-home mom still. I think nowadays it's more of like oh, you're staying at home. Like it's more of like a judgment thing that someone would choose to be a stay-at-home mom. But I think before, today's world, that was normal. And that was every woman for the most part, most women would be stay-at-home moms. So I feel like it is easy to be sensitive to that topic. I think that is society's, and this whole documentary really shows how media plays like a huge role in everything. Um, you say one thing, it's taken out of context, it's twisted, it's turned, it's now like a bigger deal than it actually was. No one's really listening to the issues or problems. And I think even with episode 2, it's like we see her doing amazing things, accomplishing amazing things, but none of that stuff's getting talked about. It's always just bashing, negative, waiting for her to mess up and kind of honing in on that. Nancy, who was her classmate at Yale, I think she made a really good point in saying how people hear what they want to, and you start to get criticized so much that you end up not trying anymore. You don't want to keep putting yourself out there to get your head chopped off. So then you just start getting put into this box. You just start being a cookie cutter, like what everyone wants from you, because you don't want to have to hear the criticism.
Yeah. And, that is true in terms of imagining being criticized ever since your early 20s, all the way up to now, like years later, and you're still hearing the same thing, still not being taken seriously in the way that you want to. And it's like battle after battle after battle. But I do appreciate that Hillary didn't give up her dream, and she didn't give up in terms of like, okay, well, whatever. The American people don't have faith in me. They never, I don't get supported by a lot of people. There's probably no hope. Politics is mainly run by a lot of men anyway, and she's in a male dominated field. So I'm just going to give up and I'm just going to ring in the towel. It's whatever. I'll just be with Bill, whatever he wants to do, and let it be whatever. I'm so glad she didn't have that type of attitude, even though there's been times where she's even expressed that she did, get frustrated and she did want to, just scream. I remember like the little baby, she was taking a picture with this little family at dinner, and the little girl was like, I don't want to. And she was like, yeah, that's me sometimes too. So, I do think that she is a resilient person though, and being able not to quit through all of this.
Right. And even during this time, again, we see her, they mention her changing her image. Again, she kind of does a little bit of softer looks. Her hair changes again. She's looking, she's doing more like damage control, volunteering at different places, um, children's places, at people's homes, like just trying to show that like she's compassionate and like a woman, and all those things that you would want from a governor's wife or president's wife. They
Shaking
use
hands,
the
kiss babies.
You said what?
The shaking hands, kissing babies method.
Exactly, all of that. They also use the term "yeppy from hell," and I thought that was interesting that they would even use that term. So they look at her, media is looking at her as someone who's too vocal, too loud, too boisterous about opinions, and pushing policy as a woman. And I think even as a Black woman, I think those are the same type of stereotypes and ideas that we kind of get stuck with as well. What did you think about that term that they use to describe her?
I was just about to say the same thing.
Right?
And yeah, literally, I feel that even to this day, at times, I've even had to feel that way. Like if I say, I remember being in a job environment where anytime I spoke up, it's like, oh, she's aggressive. She's aggressive, guys, or she's too emotional. And so, it really resonated for me when I was watching that part too, because it's like, first of all, anytime you speak up, it's like, okay, I have to word this right. I can't say this. I have to watch my tone. I can't, you have to go through all of these steps to really filter what you're saying and to double check if it's spelled right, if I'm saying this right, am I going to hurt people's feelings? There's so many different, levels of uh, uh, having to go through of approval, levels of approval you have to go through with your own things just to make sure your message still gets across to people while still being looked at in a good light. So it is heartbreaking because you have to go through all of those steps, but I understand, especially as a Black woman, that we have to still go through that. And just knowing that Hillary goes through that and she's a white woman, it's just,
It
it,
just shows that like we're all way more similar than what people try to
yeah.
put out there. It's always the Black Lives Matter movement is an issue. This is an issue, right? There's always so much politics when it comes to policy and being treated fairly. But at the end of the day, I think more than anything, this shows that women are women. And we all go through the same struggles. Even Hillary, with being white, she still faces those same issues and struggles that we all face every single day. I wanted to go to 1992. They talk about being the year of women. And so Bill is now running for president. And so he's campaigning. And I find it funny that they're again more focused on Hillary than they are on Bill. So she was, I think, getting a lot of press during this time, positive press finally. And I thought what they were describing was funny because Bill says something like, yeah, it's more like the first lady election than it is the presidential election. And I think to give a comparison, right? No way are these the same, but to give a comparison, I almost felt like watching it. I thought the O.J. Simpson trials, right?
Oh, okay.
Because, and I'll explain. So the O.J. Simpson trial, it had nothing to do with whether he killed Nicole or he didn't, whether the evidence was there or it wasn't. It was all about everything surrounding that, which was race and high tension stakes at the time, right?
Yeah.
And so just like this, it was like it had there was no thing about policy or Bill or who was running. It was all about Hillary, what she was wearing, what she was doing, how she, was handling the press, all of these things. And it had nothing to do with the presidential election. And like that was the thing that was helping Bill either win or lose. So it was like she was the main focus, even though it should have been her husband. I mean, again, like she's always facing these same obstacles every time she gets in front of the public eye.
Yeah, and it kind of also made me think. I was thinking about it, like if she was wore the perfect outfit, wore everything, you know, what would they have to say then? And I think that's also what went through her mind, like, and they were saying with the suggestions of like what she should wear and things like that, like people, they even said like if there was a perfect woman, they were trying to find out who this perfect woman was, so then she can study her, so then she can literally do that.
Right. But I think that's the reason why there was never anyone that was ever brought up as an example was
Right.
because you don't want to come off like an a-hole. Because at the end of the day, who they all love Jackie Kennedy.
Yeah.
She was the perfect first lady. If like, if anyone were to describe her, they'd be like, she's perfect, right? She doesn't say much. She's not vocal. She's not loud. She dresses nice. She puts on this idea of like the perfect family. And I think that's what they want to see from women. They don't want to see us being on the front lines and pushing policy and being smart and changing things. Cause it wasn't like she was just going along with the okey doke and being like, yeah, I agree with everything. You're wonderful. It was like she was giving them pushback, making them change policy, giving them different ideas, trying to figure out how to run a system that was already working well for other people. So anytime you try to change the status quo, anyone's gonna be, it's gonna have a problem with it, of course.
Yeah, and going back on it, they really couldn't even compare her with Miss Kennedy because she wasn't running, and I think that's something people didn't put into perspective is that she wasn't into politics the same way.
But exactly, and that's what they wanted to see, though. They didn't want to see
Right,
someone being so vocal.
and it's like for them to compare the two, it's kind of like they're two different women, even in their styles. Even if Hillary did, want to not do politics, they still have two different styles in the way that they carry themselves. And even comparing themselves, they're not the same woman. They don't have the same values, you know? And maybe I think it would also be interesting to see like if Mrs. Kennedy, ever wanted, like, has she ever wanted to be president at some point in her life? Or has she ever had some input or wanted to have input on certain things? And if she could, at the time, because, women, we have to also understand that we haven't had rights, like our rights, it hasn't even been like 100 years yet. It hasn't even, if you really think about it, it hasn't been that long since we've been able to have, rights to things, being able to vote, being able to drive, like a lot of different things, being able to run for president. Like there are so many different things that we are just now being able to do. And it was kind of heartbreaking to me, like for them to even compare two women. Anytime two women are compared in general, I kind of like it eats me up inside because it's like no woman is just the same and everyone thinks differently. And some women speak out and some women just, just go with the goes with the flow.
Right. And speaking of even continuing with the Year of the Women, there's a case that's brought up with Anita Hill. And basically, she accused Clarence Thomas of sexual harassment and she was kind of dismissed, not heard, kind of just like put off. Mind you, she was a Black woman. Um, and after this, we see it, they started seeing a pattern of more women running for Senate, which was wonderful. And then 1983, Hillary hired an all woman staff for her policies that she was campaigning for, which was universal health care. And I think at the time, while she's trying to think of like universal health care, everyone's going to have it no matter what, no matter if Bill's never the president ever again, like we're going to have this in place forever. I think it was too radical for people, especially for Republicans. Again, attacking her, that was like their only way to kind of discredit her again. So she's thinking, if I have good policy, I'm going to be a good politician. But again, those two things never matched, seem to like meet in the middle ever.
Yeah. And, and the part that sucks is just no matter how good of a policy she came up with or how innovative it was or how different it was, it seemed like it was still going to be shot down from something. Like she could literally come out with like the best plan for universal health care and they'd say, but you wore the wrong lipstick, Hillary. You wore
Right.
the wrong lipstick. That is not policy color lipstick.
Right.
Like they would still try to like fight her on that.
Absolutely. I think she just comes across as someone who's super strong and wears the pants in the relationship. And she's, again, women are not, I feel like all of us, men and women both alike, I think we all lean on having the man's word be the final word. And so when a woman says something, I feel like it kind of gets taken as like a suggestion, not so much as like a rule or a policy. So I think a lot of people have a problem taking a woman's lead, especially men, because they feel like, do I respect you enough to want to value your opinion when, we are all taught from a small age, like God is a man, Jesus is a man, everyone's a man. A man takes care of the household, a man brings home the bacon, a man does this, right? So it's like conditioned in your head that that is supposed to be who's in charge. So this notion of having someone, a woman, being the one that's taking a charge and telling you what to do, it almost seems like ass backwards for some people, and that's why they always fight her so much on it. I do want to get into the scandal, the last scandal in this episode, which is Whitewater. This happened to be Vince Foster, who was Bill's childhood friend, and he ended up taking his life because I just think like the pressure of being a part of the campaign and the presidency administration was way too much, more than he thought. And they started coming out with crazy theories after he passed away.
Yeah,
The Clintons killed him because he knew too much info. What is that
right.
about? What is happening?
Yeah, that was just crazy. What?
But then
Like,
also too, like they did mention that, they started closing off offices so like people weren't, able to go into the office or, removing paperwork and stuff. So it does kind of look a little suspicious and crazy that, like someone dies and then, there's suspicions and now you're like closing offices and removing paperwork. Like what did you think about that?
yeah, like I said, it goes back to the email thing. It gets real, the waters become a little bit foggy with that because it's like even if you did have good intentions in some way, the way they go about some things, I feel it gives the opposite, people of the opposite team ammunition for them and able to say, well, see, you're being sneaky, or see, this is why this happened, all these conspiracy theories and everything. I feel if the Clintons would have been more transparent about a lot of things of what's happened and, really being able to separate being in the having a private life versus like knowing what needs to be public, I think it would have the outcome would have been a little bit different. You can't expect somebody to die and then all of a sudden, some of the rules are changing, some, you know, paperwork is being hidden, like so many different things happening. So I feel like they have to start to be a little bit more, if they would have been a little bit more transparent of things, and the timing is everything.
Timing is definitely everything. However, I do feel like there was no hard evidence ever on anything.
Yeah,
Um, and timing is everything. And people, are going to have their suspicions, and you're always going to have your whistleblowers in the office that are like, oh, well, this is happening in the office now. Like, looks suspicious to me. And like, that's how stories kind of get out there because no one really knows what goes on in the White House except the people
right.
that are in the White House. So it had to have been someone inside selling these stories, kind of giving them a bad name or expressing thoughts and ideas that aren't 100% true. A lot of people, either you're A, making things up, or B, you don't know the full story half the time when people come to like conclusions that, either don't make sense or are just trying to get like, clickbait, get paid.
Yeah.
So it's hard to really trust what is being told in the media, what's being printed in the papers. I think if anything, I've learned, just even being on episode 2, that you can't even 20% believe anything that's in the media. You definitely have to do your own research, but it's difficult when it's like everything on the internet's clickbait, everything on the, you can find an article that says one thing that supports your idea and then find another one that doesn't. So it is difficult to really kind of vet those things out and figure out what is the truth and what isn't.
Yeah.
Which is why I think it's important to hold our politicians at a high standard, but like not to the place where like for Hillary, where it was not even about her policy. Like I don't think we've ever talked about anything bad about anything that she's, been putting out there as a bill or a policy. It's been the way she looks, the way she talks, the way she acts. It's like, what are we even talking about here? Like this has nothing to do with um her thoughts, her ideas, or anything like that. I know that they also talked about that they held a special counsel, again, to try to get in front of another story, get in front of another scandal, where they did like an open mic type situation with the questions. Um, but it still gave bad press. And then as a result, her healthcare bill got denied. What did you think about that process?
That was just an interesting process in itself as well too.
Like, do you think she should have done the big open forum interview thing? I think she probably had ideas that she didn't want to.
I think she should have. And the only reason why is because I feel, her position is very interesting. Okay. She's a woman. She's been in politics for a long time. She's married to, Bill Clinton, so she has a lot of things going on in just being in that. So she has to work a little bit harder. She has to be a little bit more transparent. She has to answer more questions. Like, I mean, not saying it's right, but that's just her reality of the time. So now she has to kind of like transition and adapt to what her new reality is. And I mean, it's frustrating as it is. She has to do that in order to become really transparent with the people. And it kind of puts you in a hard place because it's like the people are who you rely on in order to really gain that trust for whatever position you're going to be, whether it's being a mayor, whether it's student council, governor, president, senator, anything. You have to be as transparent. And I feel even though she would have to be more transparent than the men who are running, she still should have. I feel like if she would have done that, a lot of stuff could have been nipped a lot in the butt of something.
Right. Like you think that she should have been more open, a little bit more.
Just
Like,
a little
okay.
bit. It sucks because I feel like she shouldn't have to do all of this. Like it really makes me mad because she should not have to do all these extra steps and go through A, B, C, D, and E, F, G and everything just to get her points through and just to show like what she wants. But she also could have manipulated the situation and being able to really hone in on everything that she wants to do, why she wants to do it, and really manipulate it in her benefit.
Right. And I think that again, like I think men have that upper hand where they're able to kind of come into any situation and people are already gonna trust them because be open with whatever they're saying, depending on, who it is, how whatever you're saying. But I feel like again, like Trump, for example, like he comes in, he says the craziness that he says, but people still find him to be believable and trustworthy and, vote for him and all this stuff. So I feel like again, bringing that comparison to a woman, period, I think she should have definitely been more open. She said she's private, but she should have been way more open. Sometimes you have to prove yourself to then prove them wrong, right? So
Right.
lay it all out there, let them know, like, hey, I'm not coming with any creative motives. I'm here to help you, be here for you. And then maybe that way people would have been like, okay, well, like she did release that speech. She did like, okay, there's nothing for me to complain about here. she's doing everything that she can. You explain what the situation is. I did those speeches. If you have an issue with them, when I was in college, my views have changed. I am a different person now, this, then the third. There still would have been press, probably a little bit of bad press, but at least it wouldn't have looked like she was hiding anything, because I think that's where it becomes people's issues, where it's like, well, you're hiding stuff, you don't want to release, you don't want to say this, you don't want to do that, and that's where people are like, like she's looking a little shady, you know.
Yeah, and I feel like, they always think Miss Hillary. I just feel so bad because
Right.
always is considered shady. She never gets a full chance. Like, no one has ever really given her. It seems like, a lot of people haven't given her that 100% clean slate. Let's just hear what you have to say.
Right. I mean, I think Hillary's a very intelligent and smart woman, and I'm very excited to continue our journey of learning so much more about her. We have our
Yes.
next episode 3, The Hardest Decisions, coming up next, and I'm excited for us to get into that, because there is, again, more layers, more policy, more issues. So I'm super excited. But before we sign off, Sanai, where can they find you on social media?
Yes, you can find me on Instagram at IAM_SANA_ on Instagram, and on Twitter you can find me at IAM_SANA.
Perfect. And you can find me on Instagram and on Twitter at Ebony Chapman 12. We've enjoyed episode 2, and we're excited to talk about episode 3. Yes, so we will see you all on the next episode.
Yes, bye.
Our founder, Keven Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.